And speaking of launching, my final story is something that's both happened and is about to happen. And this is the Falcon Heavy rocket, which is built by SpaceX. And so we've talked about this for the last, several years. It was originally intended to have its first flight in 2014. And it's a lot harder to build a bigger rocket than what was originally thought, which this is just attaching side by side 3 Falcon 9 rockets, which have flown several dozen times now. But they've been doing the right thing and doing the engineering. So that's an artist's view of the Falcon 9, and here's the real deal. This was in December as they were getting ready to roll it out to the pad. And so there's 2 side boosters, if you will. Each of these has flown once before, and they landed them back at Cape Canaveral, and they're going to be reusing them. And then the core vehicle and the second stage are new. There's 27 engines that will ignite all at once and carry this thing off the pad. This will be the largest rocket in the world when it flies. It's slightly less thrust than the space shuttle. It's approaching the payload, though, of the Saturn V. It can launch about 115,000 pounds into low Earth orbit. And the Saturn V, actually, I shouldn't say it's approaching. The Saturn V could do 250,000 or so into low Earth orbit. But it's a whole lot more payload than any other rocket that currently exists. And the payload for this first test flight, this is the company owned by Elon Musk, and he is sending one of his Tesla Roadsters as the payload for this first flight. Usually they send stainless steel or containers of water just to provide the payload mass, because you don't want to risk a satellite or an expensive spacecraft on the first launch. But he's got a sense of humor, I guess. So there's the Tesla loaded in its payload fairing, and here's the first view of a real Falcon 9 sitting on the launch pad. And this was a couple of weeks ago. They've done the test to tank to fill it with liquid oxygen and kerosene. It's 2 propellants. And by the way, this launch pad is the same pad that Apollo 11 used, and something like 3/4 of the space shuttle launches took off from this pad, 39A at Kennedy Space Center. And so here's a drone view of the Falcon Heavy before they did their testing. Okay, so the first step in the testing was to just load the propellants and make sure that all the plumbing was working. And they've done that, I think, 3 times. And then the next step was to do a static test of the rocket. So it's clamped down. They fire up the 27 engines, let them run for about 10 seconds, and then see how everything works and shut it off. And then the next step is to actually launch it. So here's the video from a week ago. That's it. So that was a success. Sorry, I thought I had one more slide there. But so the 6th, next Tuesday, is their intended first flight attempt with this. And it will be at about, I think it's 1 o'clock Eastern time is when the window opens. They're allowing about 4 hours to see if they can get it off the ground. So we'll certainly be covering it here in Space Odyssey. We'll certainly have an update at the next 60 minutes. But this will be a major step forward to get a truly heavy lift rocket back in the inventory. So we'll wish them all the best.